The fluorescent lights in Mr. Harrington's corner office hummed like a swarm of insects trapped under glass, casting long, sickly shadows across the mahogany desk that suddenly looked too polished, too new. I stood in the doorway with my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my teeth, the crumpled resignation letter in my back pocket already soaked through with sweat. It was barely 8 in the morning, the next day, the very next day. And the city skyline behind him glittered like it was mocking me. Yesterday our servers had been stripped clean. Trade secrets, source code, client lists, the entire neural net architecture we'd bled for 3 years straight. Gone. And today, here he was, lounging in a chair that smelled of fresh leather, wearing a watch that caught the light like it cost more than my house. "Alex," he said, smiling that same fatherly smile he'd used when he promoted me last Christmas. "You look like hell. Sit down. Coffee?" I didn't sit. I couldn't. My legs felt bolted to the carpet. The office smelled wrong, new cologne, expensive, something woody and sharp that hadn't been there yesterday. On the side table behind him, a set of glossy real estate brochures fanned out like a poker hand, a sprawling glass mansion perched on a cliff outside the city, infinity pool bleeding into the sky, price tag blurred but the number of zeros unmistakable. My stomach twisted so violently I tasted bile. "I saw the transfer logs," I said. My voice came out steadier than I expected, but my hands shook at my sides. "Midnight last night. Encrypted wallet. 10 million clean." The competitor's signature was right there in the metadata, Richard. You didn't even bother to scrub it. He didn't flinch. He leaned back instead, steepling his fingers, the new watch glinting like a blade. For a second the only sound was the low thrum of the air conditioning and the distant ring of a phone 2 floors down. I waited for denial, for rage, for the security guards he usually summoned with one press of a button. Instead he chuckled, soft and almost fond, the way he used to when I stayed late to fix his code. "You always were the smartest one in the room," he said. "That's why I kept you around. Even when the board wanted to cut the R&D budget, I fought for you. Remember?" The memory slammed into me. Me at 28, wife pregnant with our second kid, medical bills stacking like Jenga blocks, and Richard sliding a bonus envelope across the same desk. "Family first," he'd said then. Family first. The words burned now like acid in my throat. Our daughter's chemo started next week. My wife hadn't slept in months. And he had sold the one thing that could have kept the company alive long enough to cover it all. I took one step closer. The carpet was thicker under my shoes than yesterday. New, too. Everything was new. "You sold us out for a mansion," I whispered. The word tasted filthy. I saw the wire confirmation at 2:14 a.m. At 9:07 a.m. this morning you closed on the property. Same bank, same account. You didn't even wait for the ink to dry on the betrayal. His eyes flicked to the brochures, then back to me. Something shifted behind them, not fear, exactly, but a cold calculation, like a chess player realizing the opponent had spotted the trap but was still stepping into it. The suspense coiled tighter in my chest. Any second now the mask would crack. Any second he'd lunge for the phone, or laugh me out, or worse, offer me a cut. I didn't know which would hurt more. "You think this is about money?" he asked quietly. He stood up slowly, unfolding to his full height, and the morning light carved new lines into his face I hadn't noticed before. Exhaustion? Guilt? Or just the satisfied glow of a man who'd finally cashed out? The company was sinking, Alex. We were 6 weeks from payroll default. The investors were circling like sharks. I saved us. I saved you. Saved? The word exploded out of me louder than I meant. I slammed the door shut behind me so the whole floor wouldn't hear, but the click of the latch felt final, like a coffin lid. "You sold the only leverage we had. That algorithm was ours, mine, the team's, the late nights when we ordered pizza at 3 a.m. because the deadline was breathing down our necks. You took every dream we poured into it and handed it to the people who've been trying to bury us for 2 years. And for what? A cliffside house with a goddamn helipad? My voice cracked. I hated how small it made me sound, how desperate. I could see my reflection in the glass wall behind him, tie crooked, eyes red-rimmed, the same face that had stared back at me in the hospital mirror the night our daughter's fever spiked and we had no insurance left. Richard had been the one who called in a favor then, got her into the trial program. Now that favor felt like the first thread of the web he'd been spinning all along. He walked around the desk, slow, deliberate, and for a heartbeat the suspense choked me. Was he going to hit me? Fire me? Or worse, confess everything and make me complicit just by standing here? The brochures fluttered as he passed, one sliding to the floor. I caught a glimpse of the master bedroom balcony overlooking the ocean, price listed in bold font, $14.8 million. 14.8. My annual salary wouldn't cover the property taxes. You're angry, he said, stopping 2 feet away. Close enough that I could smell the mint on his breath, see the faint tremor in his left eyelid he always got when he was lying. I get it. Betrayal stings. But look at the bigger picture. The competitor's going to bury the tech anyway. Patent it, shelve it, charge the world triple. At least this way I walk away with enough to start over. You could too. I could make a call. 10%. Off the books. Enough for your little girl's treatment, private school, the works. No more scraping by. The offer hung between us like a noose. My knees buckled. For one sick, shameful second I imagined it, telling my wife the nightmare was over, watching our daughter run on a beach instead of a hospital corridor. The emotion crashed over me so hard my eyes stung. I loved this company. I loved the stupid Team Slack memes, the way we high-fived when a model finally converged, the way Richard used to clap me on the shoulder and say, "Kid, we're building the future." All of it poison now, rotting from the inside because the man I'd called a mentor had weighed our lives against a mansion and chosen marble countertops. I pulled the USB from my pocket and held it up between us. I copied everything before the wipe. Logs, timestamps, the offshore account routing numbers. It's already uploaded to 3 different cloud drives with deadman switches. If anything happens to me, or to the company, or to my family, it all goes public. SEC, FBI. The press. Your pretty new house will have news vans parked outside before the pool guy finishes cleaning the tiles. His smile froze. The eyelid twitched harder. For the first time the suspense felt mutual. I could see him calculating risk, weighing silence against scandal, the mansion against prison orange. The air between us thickened until I could barely breathe. My pulse roared in my ears. One wrong word and this could end with me escorted out in handcuffs while he spun the narrative, disgruntled employee, fabricated evidence, all of it. Or worse, it could end with nothing at all. Him laughing, me walking out with my job and my dignity in shreds, watching from the sidelines as our life's work fueled someone else's empire. Richard exhaled through his nose, long and slow. You're better than this, Alex. You always were. His voice was soft again, almost tender, and that hurt more than any shout. But go ahead. Burn it down. See how far your little flash drive gets when my lawyers finish with you. I'll still have the house. You'll still have the hospital bills. And in 6 months, when the competitor launches our tech under their name, you'll be the one explaining to your wife why Daddy couldn't save the day. He reached out and plucked the USB from my fingers before I could stop him. Just like that. No struggle, no drama, just the casual theft of the last card I held. My hand stayed outstretched, empty, trembling. The finality of it slammed into me like a door to the chest. I had walked in here ready to fight for justice, for loyalty, for the family that depended on me, and in 30 seconds he had stripped it all away with nothing but calm certainty and the faint scent of new money. I took a step back. Then another. The carpet swallowed my footsteps. Behind him the city kept moving, indifferent, while my entire world narrowed to the glint of that watch and the brochures scattered like fallen leaves. Tears burned but I refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of him. You sold us out, I said, voice barely above a whisper now, and you bought yourself a view. I hope it's worth it when you're standing on that balcony alone.
He didn't answer.
He just slipped the USB into his jacket pocket, the same pocket where he used to keep the company stress balls he handed out like candy. Then he turned toward the window, hands clasped behind his back, staring out at the skyline as if I had already left. I stood there, another heartbeat, suspended between rage and grief and the crushing weight of what came next, telling the team, telling my wife, starting over with nothing. The suspense didn't break, it simply stretched tighter, thinner, until it felt like my ribs would snap. Finally I turned, pulled the door open, and stepped into the hallway where the rest of the office was just beginning its day, oblivious.